Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating it's Sunday, February 25th, 2018. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as they are already contributing more to completing the search for truth assignments than they are taking or using or borrowing in search for truth resources, and also living by all the rest of the search for truth rules given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us, because if we are not living by those rules, it's very unlikely we're going to be able to do what it actually takes to discover what's actually going on. As always, our foundational intention is to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions, to create worlds that work in all dimensions and for all categories of sentience, and the data strongly suggests, and some might say proves, we can have large impact only in the worlds within worlds, in the even deeper, denser dimensions, and so we start there with the intention to create worlds that work in the even deeper, denser dimensions for all categories of even deeper, denser dimension sentience. What now? To create even deeper, denser dimension worlds that work for all categories of even deeper, denser dimension sentience. And someone is pointing out the difference between the first statement and the second question. Did you feel how much it opened up by just asking the question, what now?
Yes.
It seems like it shouldn't make a difference, but it actually does. When we ask what now, with curiosity, something punches a hole in the sky and we can breathe fresh air. Or we can breathe air. It doesn't smell very fresh, but it's better than no air.
That's true.
Why do you ask? We've still got these symptoms of something not right in the knuckles of the hands, and it relates to extinction energy in the depths.
That's true.
And some of the extinction, a lot of it just seems as though it's unintentional. It's not like the presences are being hunted down. It's just that they are in the way of some goal or another.
That's true.
What now? In order to create even deeper, denser dimension worlds that work for all categories of even deeper, denser dimension sentience, including whatever these sentiences in the knuckles represent, because they're definitely, something bad is happening. What it is unclear, but it's clear that something bad is happening. Somebody's asking how we know that. Maybe we'll stretch longer. We know that the bodies are bringers of messages, and that the reason, one of the many reasons why any soul with anything going on would come into a dense body is to get the messages, get access to the messages rapid fire. And then the faster we acknowledge what the messages are and act on them, the faster the symptoms resolve. There's actually no reason. The guidance counselor used to say this to Asha. He would say there's no reason for the suffering to drag on. Just get to it, get the answer, act on the answer, and voila, problem solved.
That's true.
And we believe that's probably still true.
I do.
Why do you ask?
Ooh, pumping up.
Now let's raise our screen up and use the hot golden combs to really eliminate all horizontal channels, because when big souls come in, they are setting an example to other souls, and they're either setting a good example or they're setting a bad example, but they are setting an example. And so it's important when well-intentioned big deal souls come into denser host lives for them to set a good example and to do it right away and consistently.
That's true.
Why do you ask? I'm starting to hear the voices up there, way up high. Let's just start pumping up some of these deeper, denser dimension sentiences who have been eliminated inadvertently in what looks like a concerted extinction effort, but it's actually just thoughtlessness.
That's true.
On a grand scale. Pump this up. Here you go. These seem to be test results that show thoughtlessness on a grand scale. Why do you ask? Shoot those test results up through the channels of those larger presences, not just to them, but through their channels, so that we can get the tiered effect, going through higher and higher and higher levels until we get to somebody who's interested in what's actually going on here in the depths. I hear the song The Holly and the Ivy. Yes, aim to the holly. Because why the holly? Somebody's saying, why the holly? Because of all the plants that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. They're asking who the ivy represents. And we know that ivy it just grows horizontally. It uses things to support itself, but we've got just enormous tangles of ivy. It's part of our mission in our little assignment of creating a miniature world that works here in this compound, and that the ivy is an enormous problem. The vines are an enormous problem, and ivy is a vine.
That's true.
And we have ivy here.
That's true.
There's some right over there.
Yeah, it is.
Who does the ivy represent? Well, what game theory would say is that the ivy represents Gabriel and his followers. Somebody's asking what we base that on, and it's because unfortunately back in September of 2014, I believe it was, we saw maybe 2,000 guardian angels in a gathering trying to figure out what to do about this dimension that was falling apart rapidly.
Yes.
And there was one person in that gathering who was wearing sunglasses, and he was exuding vibrations that took down the clarity of the whole group. And there was a presence who was labeled as that really tall guy, the really tall presence, who was later identified as the one that had come to be known as our Ra.
Yes, that's true.
And he said, look, this person is creating a trouble for all of us. And that person was removed from the space, and all of a sudden the other 2,000 guardian angels kind of woke up and could tell what was going on again. And that tall presence said, see how it is. If it's this way for us, think how it is for our children, meaning for the denser presences.
That's
in
true.
The less enlightened, quote-unquote, dimensions, the denser presences, the smaller lives. And he said, look, how are they going to stand a chance of telling what's going on with this bad energy hanging around? And men, long time after that, took a while to figure out who that person was, but unfortunately it's Gabriel.
That's true.
And the messages from our work this morning show that the big problem is still the big problem. And if that's not about Gabriel, then
I'm wrong.
Then I'm wrong. Why do you ask? What do I have against Gabriel? Nothing.
I don't have anything
he was
against him.
An inspiration and a good teacher for many years.
That's
and
true.
we really appreciate and value all that we learned from him. But when things really went bad, which was in 2013, he seemed to make a choice that was unhelpful.
That's true.
And that was when the astrals started just completely choking and the dead could no longer get through. Somebody's asking what we're talking about. That was when the astrals choked up.
That's true.
And the dead couldn't get through. It was in 2013, maybe early 2013. And it just, then the upward flow stopped. And then the vortices started shutting down and everything went from bad to worse in a short, ugly string. Why do you ask?
Why do you ask?
They want to know. They're trying to figure it out. They don't feel bad intention. They feel well-intentioned and a little panic.
Little panic.
They don't want to pull Gabriel out because they love Gabriel, which we understand.
That's true.
And they're saying, but what will happen to Gabriel? It's a problem. It is a problem. But the needs of the greater good matter more than the needs of individuals and groups. Is that not the teaching of eons? Is that not the eternal teaching? Nothing matters more than survival of the truth. Is that true? Does anything matter more than survival of the truth? We notice again the difference between making a statement and asking a question. Making a statement does nothing for the alignment. Asking a question with curiosity helps the alignment open up.
That's true.
Does anything matter more than survival of the truth?
Well,
that question goes way up.
That's true.
How about this? Do the needs of the greater good matter more than the needs of individuals and groups? Oh, I know what to do. This is a small presence. They're saying, I know what to do. I know what to do. Just pull him up several dimensions. Whoosh! And then it'll be, he's a good guy as long as he's surrounded by good presences. When the area gets contaminated, he goes down fast.
That's true.
Just pull him up several levels. Give it a go. Why do you ask?
Why do you ask?
Why do they ask? Does anybody up there want to pull Gabriel up several levels to give him a chance to get a fresh start? He's a good guy. Just pull him up several levels. Oh, they don't want that stinky boy around them.
No, that's true.
Well, do you love him, yes or no? I thought you just said you loved him. Isn't that... Now, it's confusing, because you either love him or you don't.
That's true. Maybe they're confused about what love is.
Well, it's all in the definition.
Let's pump up higher, maybe.
Yes, reach higher. Stretch longer. Comb our channels higher. Let's just use those hot golden combs. And comb our own channels higher. And when our arms run out of reach, we cut those channels and toothpaste squeeze out the contents. Flush them clear. Burn the contents right away. Juice and burn. And crunch and juice and burn the contents, and then stretch them up longer, squeeze them out again, crunch and juice and burn the contents again, pump up dead children, and again say, what now? Ask, what now? To create even deeper, denser dimension, worlds that work for all categories of even deeper, denser dimension sentience. And what now particularly about the signals to do with extinctions created by thoughtlessness? What now? There's a big upward flow now.
That's true.
Just send it up, sparks, through the channels of the visiting souls and try to go 3 tiers up. And then try to go 1 more tier up. And 1 more tier up. And maybe 1 more tier up. And now it kind of feels like we're out in the clear again.
That's true.
What now? To create
Even deeper, denser dimension worlds that work for all categories.
Let's just pump up the question, because when we ask what now, the channels want to go into the head.
That's true.
That's not helpful. Just pump up the energy through the channels, sparks up through the channels. Somebody's asking why it's bad to have channels going into the head. And the intention of the questioner feels good. When information comes in through our channels, it feels like intuition. That is what intuition is, information that's coming in through our channels.
That's true.
When our channels are going into our heads, we're intuiting what our thoughts are, which actually isn't helpful because we're already thinking our thoughts, and that sets up an unhelpful feedback loop where we stay stuck in thinking that's inaccurate to some degree or another. And it doesn't actually have to be inaccurate much to make a a big problem.
That's true.
Small, we've been getting so many messages about that lately. There's some arguing about that, but we have been getting so many messages about small differences that have big shifts in the outcome. Small errors that have big shifts in the outcome. What do you ask? So back to the issue of channels into the mind.
Yes.
Our minds will think those thoughts again, just naturally. We don't have to give them a feedback loop for them to remember what they're thinking. They're just thinking it. It's important for the channels to go up to get higher perspectives. And that way we can have the epiphanies. If our channels are going into our heads, we are dooming ourselves to a sentience without epiphanies, and isn't that sad? I think it's sad.
I think it's really sad.
I think it's really sad. I love the epiphany moments. Those are the best moments of life. Why would we want to cheat ourselves out of the epiphanies? Let's comb up these channels out of the mind and ask higher presences. Let's have the intent to ask higher aspects of self. What now? Boy, it just is hard. As soon as we ask a question, the channels want to go into the mind.
That's true.
Is there anyone up there who really wants to know what's actually going on?
That punched a hole in the sky.
That did. Whoosh, that question goes whizzing up, and I see I can follow it up.
That's true.
Here we go. Is there anyone up there who really wants to know what's actually going on? I think when we think we know the answer to the question, the channels go into the mind.
That's
when we know that we don't know, the channel flies up. Okay, we can just ask questions we know we don't know the answers to. Okay. It's funny because their presence is here. It feels like Pan, who are saying, I'm positive I don't know how to create even deeper, denser dimension worlds that work for all categories of even deeper, denser dimension sentience. And just the way things are turning out would prove that you, and he's talking to the person who didn't want to put their channels up, prove that you also don't know.
That's true.
How to create even deeper, denser dimension worlds that work, or you would have done it by now because you're not a bad person. That's a valid point. Nonetheless, is there anyone up there who really wants to know what's actually going on?
Holy moly.
It is tricky, because when they come into the depths, they come in with a plan. I see the challenge.